Saira, this is Gyani Bele. My humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Also my humble pranams to all the listeners. Today's topic of spiritual spheres or spiritual circles will give us a small peek into how the spiritual world operates. When first time Swami told us this, we absolutely had no clue. We never heard of it and we never read about it anywhere. And before I get started, just a little background for anybody who's listening to these videos first time. Shivangini, my spouse, her journey was started by Sathya Sai Baba, and he took her on a very rapid spiritual journey from 1997, and in 2005 she left her physical body. He always called her Shivangini, but her name was Dali. Okay. Now, we don't remember exactly when. The reason why I keep using the word we, because whenever she would have this experience, a conversation with Swami, she would immediately tell me, I'll try to write it down at that time. So it was fairly close to her experience when I'm getting the communication from her. Now, we don't remember exactly when, but sometime in 2000 onwards, Swami used to tell Shivangini that her number was 14. And multiple times we heard the 14 and she could never make out of it. She lost track of it. She forgot about it. And she didn't even tell me about it because she didn't know what it meant. So she didn't tell me. Then Swami reminded her, this is somewhere around 2001, that he said to her that in meditation one time I showed you circles. And while showing those circles in the meditation, he pointed to one of the circle and said that is your circle and the number is 14. Now he had to remind her. That's the only way she remembered it. Now about in the middle of 2001, she and I were walking down and discussing, because this was very normal practice to us. We would go down for a walk. We used to have a rail trail, which is railroad tracks were taken out and a trail is made out of it. People go and walk, and it was very close to our house. So we would just go down walking up there, and while walking, most of the time she was discussing spiritual stuff only. And in the discussion, she told me that her cousin and a friend of hers, friend of the cousin, who are the followers of Shivangini, were calling and telling her that their sadhana was not going properly because they were working with her, and it was going in a very different directions, and they were telling her that. And Shivangini was wondering, because for the last 2 months Shivangini herself was feeling similar stuff, that her sadhana was going in different directions than what normally it would proceed. Now, while we are talking, she's telling me that thing. At that time, Swami said, he said that you have a sphere means a circle, over which you have influence. Similarly, there are different spheres in different parts of the world that are playing the role of influence. In spiritual world, there are such spheres all over the universe. Center of each of the sphere influences everything within that sphere. Their moods, their circumstances, their feelings, how they are affected, and so forth. Then Swami says further, he says this is a spiritual secret. Why people within your sphere are showing similar type of moods and experiences like you do. Swami explained about how spiritual energy flows. This is another time he was explaining it to her. She is like a magnet in her spiritual sphere, the circle. She is like a magnet. If her spiritual energy is high, the people who are in her spiritual circle, if they come near her, the energy flows from her to them. But in case if her energy is lower, then the negative energy from them comes back to her. He was telling her that. And he was telling her that's why she is to keep her energy level up by doing sadhana and keeping it up. Okay. 4 months later, Swami said, he was explaining something else, and at that time he said, there are some pests who are around you. He was really calling some people with lower tendencies, basically. There are some pests around you who have these lower exploiting tendencies, and they need to be corrected. I'm correcting them through you by affecting your state of mind, which in turn has direct effect on them. These are his words, okay? Then after she heard from that from Swami, I was writing it down. As I was writing it down, she said to me at that time, if my state of mind can control or affect the people the way it does it, I wonder what is the magnitude of effect when we are in the presence of Swami, Baba. And she's telling me this while I'm writing her experience as I was doing it. Then immediately Swami responded to her. He said, Shivangini, there is a difference. You have influence, but I control, he said. You can only affect, but I control, he said. 20 days later, Swami said, the number of your circular sphere is 14. Then he said there are 21 such circles in the world. 5 are in USA, 3 in India. Since the number, usually what do we think? Like India is pretty high up on spirituality, so there must be more spheres here. So of course our thought process was the same too. And she had that thought, and she said, since the number of spheres in India was fewer, Shivangini asked Swami, Swami, is it because you are there in India, that's why they are less number? Then Baba replied at that time. He says, no, I am not one of the 21 spheres. I am above all the spheres, he says. So that was kind of revelation to us about how spheres are used and so forth. He said another time, all people in the sphere, in each of the spheres, are equal to each other. Okay? Because the distinction of high-low needed to be eliminated. That's why they're spheres. And what it really meant is it's not like a pyramid. Somebody's at the top and other people are lower, That's why it is a circle where all of them are equal. But yet one has the role of influencing the rest of them, affecting the rest of them, and so forth. And then he mentioned very interesting point. Actually, I came across it many other times too, in other places. He said that no one is evil or bad, but certain spiritual spheres can be in conflict rather than in the harmony. And that was a nice revelation to me, which helped me understand many questions I had which were in them. I go into a lot of them, like many people who are in conflict with each other, even spiritual people are in conflict with each other and so on. So he's really saying that that's because the roles and responsibilities which are assigned to each of the spheres may be in conflict, whatever the role, whatever the change they need to make, because it is dependent on who the people are in that sphere and in what way they need to be moved forward and all that. So they could run into conflict. So that was all we knew about spheres. Now I'm writing the book after Shivangini passed away. This is the book Making of a Yogini that I wrote. And when I was writing it, even after writing, this is all in the Making of a Yogini, if you go into it. But I have put it from various places, put it all in one spot so that we can understand it better. Even after writing it, I did not know what the spheres are or any further clarification on it from any other source. Then after I let it aside, then usually as I'm searching and doing things in the spiritual stuff, because I retired in 2009 and most of my time is spent on spiritual stuff basically, I came across something in which was a great revelation to me. Apparently it exists. I didn't know that till that night. This is put together by Meher Baba. Meher Baba is, I think, out of Pune or something in India. And he actually, he was a great spiritual person. And on his website, the spiritual spheres and centers are mentioned. And I'll read out what he said, which kind of explains some of the things in there. He says, Meher Baba says, those who consecrate their lives to him, this is the people who consecrate their lives, means they give their lives, they spend a lot of energy, a lot of these things in work to him. Who is this him? Him is Avatar. Him is Sadguru. Okay? And those who do that gradually become identified with him in consciousness. Little by little, their humanity is absorbed into his divinity and they become free. That is, they become liberated. Those who are closest to him are known as his circle. Every Sadguru has an intimate circle of 12 disciples who, at the point of realization, are made equal to the Sadguru himself, though they may differ from him in function and the authority. But at spiritual level, they become equal to him. In avataric periods, I'm still reading what Meher Baba wrote. In avataric periods, the avatar is a circle of 10 concentric circles, which means it will have 122 disciples. 12 times 10 is 120, but he wrote down 122 disciples there, all of whom experience realization and work for the liberation of others. All these people. The work of the avatar and his disciples is not only for contemporary humanity, but for posterity as well. The unfoldment of life and consciousness for the whole avataric cycle, which had been mapped out in the creative world before the avatar took form, is endorsed and fixed in the formative and material worlds during the avatar's life on earth. That's what he wrote. Well, anyway, that is a lot of statement in there. What I would take from there is when I think of people like, I'm sure Swami Sathya Sai Baba has got people like Kasturi or people like that who are closer to him, and they may have evolved to that state. Kasturi was, of course, everybody used to say that he was a saint himself. They may have evolved into that. They have had this one of these people who are close in the part of the circle and all that. The others I do not know. But the other things I can think of is Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had Brahmananda, Vivekananda, those people. And if you think of it, Vivekananda's role is much different than Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa himself was. And that is what he is referring to here. The role and the responsibility may be different, but at the spiritual state, individual internal spiritual state would be equivalent to where the master was. Okay. In summary, it all sounds to me, when I look into it, it sounds like a spiritual management system which we are not aware of. Because Swami, when he wants to affect, he could directly affect too, but he uses these instruments, he uses these spiritual centers. He uses the center of the sphere, being Shivangini, being number 14 there. Other 21 spheres are there. They are influencing the people around them. Their moods are influenced. Their changes are getting influenced. Many things that are getting changed in them. Like in one instance where he wanted to correct some people, he was correcting them through altering Shivangini's moods and conditions. And that's how he was bringing a change in them. That seems like a very, a high sophisticated management system in the spirituality itself. Okay, one point to note is being fortunate to get too close to a Sadguru or to an avatar, one's life gets consecrated. That is guaranteed. That's at least you can understand that. Also, if one is in the close proximity of this Sadguru or avatar, how should they be? They should really improve their sadhana to a degree that they can absorb the energy as much as they can, because it is clearly said that these people are emanating enormous amounts of energy to them. It flows to them. So it is like take that opportunity when you are in their presence. That's all I wanted to share with you today. Sai Ram.